I'm Derrick Baker, and this is Miracle Ford. And today what I'm going to do is talk about leasing. And the reason why I'm going to talk about leasing because so many times I would be asked, hey, is leasing good or is leasing bad? Or sometimes, I've seen different dealerships lease 90% of their vehicles. I've seen other dealerships lease 10% of their vehicles. And I look at those stores that do 10%, and I wonder why. And usually the reason why is because people really don't understand what leasing is. They think they understand, but they really don't. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over exactly how a lease works, what your options are, and why a lease might be good for you and it might not be good for you. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a diagram. I'm going to use round numbers to make it easy, but I'm going to use $20,000 as a sale price of a vehicle. And don't make fun of my drawing, but here's what we're going to do to explain this as best we can. I'm going to make a box. I'm going to put a line through the middle. I'm going to put U on here. I'm going to put bank on here. And in that box of U, I'm also going to put options. And I'll explain that here in a second. And as for the bank, I'm going to put risk. Okay, so options and risk. Down here, I'm going to put numbers. And what these numbers are going to represent is a retail purchase. Usually retail purchase is about 6 years. That's average term anymore. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. What we're going to look at is leasing and how that's going to give you more options in the long run. But first of all, I'm going to use $20,000. How does a lease work? First of all, what the bank is doing is they're guessing what the value of that vehicle is going to be at the end of the lease. So let's say we're looking at a 3-year lease. They're guessing what the value of that vehicle is going to be at the end of 3 years. So if let's say it's 50%, they're going to say that vehicle is going to be 50% of its value after the 3 years. So if it's 50%, so here's $10,000. Here's $10,000. Okay. First of all, I'm going to show you exactly how to save $3,600 just like that. If I'm looking at a 36-month lease, and usually a lease is about $100 less in payment than a purchase. So if I take $100 times 36, it's $3,600. So you're going to save $3,600 just like that. But basically, let me explain you options and bank risk. First of all, what's your options on a purchase? Your options on a purchase or a retail purchase, that's the 6-year loan. Your options, first of all, if you want to go ahead and you're tired of the vehicle, which is trade cycles anymore, are about basically 2.5 to 3 years. So 2.5, 3 years from now, you're tired of the vehicle that you're driving. You bring it in, and we're going to appraise it, and you're going to try to trade that vehicle in. Okay? And let's say we can't agree. We can't agree that I'm not giving you enough money for your vehicle than what you owe or something like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to go and keep it, and you're going to go ahead and pay the next 3 years, and you're going to go ahead and own it. Okay. Another thing you could do is if you still want the new vehicle, you can go ahead and sell it. So there's your options. Trade, you can go ahead and pay it off and own it, or you can sell it. That is your options on a retail purchase. What is your options on a lease? Okay. Well, first of all, let's put lease down. And let's say at the end of the 3 years, you bring your vehicle in and you want to go ahead and see what the value of that vehicle is. And let's say the bank said it's worth $10,000, but I appraise it, and I appraise it for $12,000. That is really $2,000 in the good in your favor. So yeah, the bank did guess wrong, but it's in your favor. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to trade that lease in. Basically, as a dealer, we're going to go ahead and purchase the vehicle for you, and whatever equity you have, we're going to go ahead and give to that. But you can go ahead and trade in a vehicle. The other thing you can do is, let's say at the end of 3 years, what I usually call this is the breather time. It's time that we take a deep breath and say, hey, has anything changed in our lives? Do we still like our vehicle? If you want to go ahead and keep this vehicle and own it, you can do that. From day one, and what's nice about this is there is some changes on leases now than there used to be. A lot of people say, I'm not getting a lease because I heard horror stories. Well, most of those horror stories are stories of open-end leases. And what happened is balloon leases, open-end leases, however you want to say them. But at the end of the 3 years, that $10,000 could be anything that they want it to be. They could change that at any time. Well, that's not a case anymore. It's now called a close-in lease. Close-in. What it means is, you know, from day one, all the way back here, you know, in 3 years you can buy your vehicle from yourself. You know how it's maintained. You know how little Charlie spilt the milk in the back seat. Whatever's going on with the vehicle you have right now, you know everything about it, and you feel comfortable. I want to buy a vehicle from myself. So you can take that 3-year loan, or that $10,000, and finance that for another 3 years, and you can own it as well. You're still doing a 5-year purchase. The only difference is that you're going to go ahead and take that breather time, like I said, and decide if you really like the vehicle or you don't like the vehicle. Okay. The other thing is, you could sell it. There's a payoff. There's a payoff just like a retail, so you could go ahead and sell it. Now here's the other thing, is pretty much they're all the same. But here's what's really nice about a lease. Let's say at the end of the 3 years, you bring it in, I go ahead and appraise it, and I appraise it for $6,000. Well, guess what? The bank guessed wrong. They guessed wrong. They took the risk. Okay? They took the risk. You have options, and the risk is you're not going to take a $4,000 bath on your vehicle. You're going to let the bank do that. So what happens is you can go ahead and say, well, bank, thanks a lot, but I'm just going to go ahead and walk away and go to my next vehicle with no penalty to you. It's really that easy. And I know there's going to be some objections about certain things, and I'm going to go over them with you so you understand them as well. One is they're going to go ahead, I hear many times is the number one complaint is, I drive too many miles. Okay. Well, first of all, I can build miles into the lease, but here's what miles really means. It's not really a penalty. Okay. This box resembles the car. Okay, let's say this resembles a car, and you're paying for half the car. Okay, you're paying for half the car of 3 years and 15,000 miles a year, so 45,000 miles. So right now we have you set up at 45,000 miles in 3 years. That is average driving in now today's driving ability. So basically, if you drive more than average miles, okay, even if you own this vehicle, if you drive more than average miles, okay, and it doesn't matter if I'm putting retail or lease, but if you drive more than average miles, and let's go ahead and just say you drive 55,000 miles, and here's your car. You paid for these many miles, but now you haven't paid for this yet, okay? So basically you're only paying on the part of the car you're using, okay? Let me say that one more time. You're only paying on the part of the car that you're using, okay? So if you're using more of the car, you just haven't paid for that yet, okay? Now here's what's really nice. I believe why people are misled when they say, I drive too many miles. If you own a vehicle, this is a purchase and you go to try to trade it in, but you drive more than average miles, and Kelley Blue Book, Black Book, all these books that people like to shoot out, they depreciate a vehicle. Anything over average miles, anything over that 45,000 miles, they'll depreciate usually about 30 to 35 cents per mile. So where do you see that? Right now you'd see it on, if it's your vehicle, you see it on your depreciation. Okay? So your depreciation of your vehicle is going to get hit 30 to 35 cents per mile over average miles. So how does a lease help me? Well, here's how a lease will help you. If you go over average miles, and this I'm going to talk Ford lease because we are Miracle Ford. If you go over average miles, and okay, you're going to go ahead and be charged 18 cents per mile. So you can either own it and take a risk that your depreciation is going to be 30 to 35 cents per mile over average, or you can lease it and know, hey, I went over my mileage, I'm going to be charged 18 cents per mile. Now, it don't mean we have to collect that money because if you trade it in, miles doesn't matter. We're just going to appraise the vehicle for what it's worth. If you want to own it, miles don't matter. Selling it, miles doesn't matter. The only time miles matter is if you're going to walk away and go to another vehicle. Now, let's say you drove 55,000 miles, and I'm just going to throw a number out there. Let's say the overage mileage is $1,500. Okay, I can take that $1,500 and put it on your next lease or your next purchase, however you want to do it. But that gives you some examples of exactly what a lease does, and a misconception that if you drive too many miles, that you're not a lease candidate. You are a lease candidate. Now, who is really a lease candidate? If you bring in your vehicle and you're on a 6-year loan right now, and you're at the 3-year mark, and you owe money on your vehicle, if you owe money on your vehicle, that's the other complaint people have. I want to own my vehicle. Stop making payments. Stop making payments and see what happens. The bank's going to come and get that vehicle because you don't own that vehicle now. If you have a loan on that vehicle, you do not own it. You're just paying a bank. The only difference from here is you're going to pay a lease company instead of the bank. Do you care who you pay to? I mean, I wouldn't care who I pay to as long as it's good rates and things like that. And what's really nice is usually lease rates are a lot lower than a purchase. So those are good things to remember too. Other things that people might say, hey, I don't want to lease, is because I heard my friend had a lease and it did, it just wasn't good for them. Well, just because it wasn't good for them doesn't mean it wasn't good for you. Okay. Once again, the only time you have to worry about miles is if you walk away, but you can do all the same options as you do on a purchase. You're not taking the risk. The bank is taking the risk, and you have options. You have all 4 options instead of 3 options. The other thing is I wanted to talk about is if you're a business person and you're going to go ahead or not a business person, just say you're just going to buy stock. Are you going to go ahead and go buy a stock you know is going to lose value? Are you going to go buy a $20,000 stock that you know from day one, I'm going to lose 50% of its value in 3 years? If so, I'm not going to have you do my investing for me, believe me, because I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what? If I know my stock's going to lose 50% of its value, I'm probably not going to buy that stock. And that's basically what leasing is doing. People say it's renting instead of buying. Well, let me tell you, it's probably the smartest thing you can do if you come in every 3 years and you want to go ahead and get out of your vehicle and you keep loading up your payoff in your next loan. You might want to start looking at a lease and make sure that the bank takes the risk and you don't, and you have options, and you're going to save $3,600 up front. The other thing is you're not going to pay. You're only paying sales tax, or like they call a usage tax on the on your payment. So on the $10,000, not the entire amount. There's a lot of good things on leases, and I thank you for watching this, and I hope it explains quite a bit what a lease is. If you have any other questions, please contact us here at Miracle Ford and talk to one of our consultants. We'll be able to help you out. But if you have any questions about any of our vehicles or anything like that, please go to Miracle Ford TN. Miracle Ford TN, and we'll go ahead and you can pick out a vehicle, new or used, on our website. Also, you can go and review us and also watch some of these videos that you're watching right now on training or what we have out here, and also just educational videos. But thank you so much for watching Miracle Ford. My name is Derrick Baker, and have a good day.